What's up, people of the internet? My name is Davicap, and the card leaks, they just keep coming and there's no end in sight. So we're going to take a look at the newest batch of leaked cards in this video. Stay tuned. Now, before we get started, let me share very quickly how I think that we got these leaks. Based on my understanding, a professional Dota player got on another player's account and streamed that game and then quickly took the video down. But fans recorded that video and then posted screenshots online, which eventually made its way over from Asian social media to American social media, and it's been posted on Reddit. And as a result, these images are very low quality. In fact, some of them are barely readable. I had to kind of take out my magnifying glass and enhance the image.
Can you enhance the image from here?
Can you enhance him right here?
Can you enhance it?
Can you enhance it?
Can we enhance this?
Can you enhance it?
Hold on a second, I'll enhance.
Some of them are so hard to read, in fact, that I had to recreate the cards using a custom card maker just so that you guys could read the text. So for those cards, I'm going to show the original image that I used to extrapolate the text, as well as my interpretation of the cards. Now, I think that my interpretation is like 99% accurate. However, a couple of the words, especially numbers, are so blurry that I can't tell, does this item cost 8 gold or 6 gold, because it's, you know, it's just so blurry. So you're gonna have to be your own judge, I think, for some of these items. But for the most part, it's only like 2 or 3 items that are like that. So I apologize in advance. Anyways, let's get straight into the video and check out these new cards. All right, first off, we have Storm Spirit, a black hero card with 4 attack and 6 health. Quite possibly the lowest black body I think that we've seen so far. I'd have to check, but those numbers are real low. His passive ability is Overload. Give Storm Spirit +2 attack until end of next combat phase after you play a black card in any lane. So the idea with this passive basically is you want to put him in one of the later lanes, like lane 2, ideally lane 3. Then you play a black card in lane 1, he gets +2 attack. Then you play a black card in lane 2, he gets +2 attack again. You play a black card in lane 3, he gets +2 attack again, because that stacks continuously until after the combat. So if you play him in lane 3, you have the most opportunities to play a black spell. But of course, one of the cool things about Storm Spirit is that it looks like he can teleport between lanes. His premier card is Ball Something. We can see it's cost 3 mana. You can cast it in any lane. And it says we can guess allied black hero based on the fact that we can see the letters AL in black. And then it says an empty something. So my guess is that this card reads something along the lines of move an allied black hero to an empty card slot in any lane. That's probably not perfectly accurate, but I think I'm pretty close. So the application of this card is that you can have Storm Spirit in lane 1, play a black spell to buff him up, then teleport him over to lane 3 so you can cast spells along the way, and by the time you get to lane 3, he's actually quite powerful. And then after the combat phase, he drops back down to his measly, pathetic 4 attack. Next up is Outworld Devourer. He has the exact same body as Storm Spirit, but he's in blue, so we don't really expect blue to have high stats anyways. It's worth pointing out that I think this is the only blue hero in the game with 4 attack, meaning he can one-shot creeps. I don't believe there's another blue hero that does that, but I'd have to check. His passive is Essence Aura. After you play a blue card, there is a 50% chance to restore it 2 mana. We can directly compare that to Crystal Maiden's passive, which restores 2 mana after you play a spell. The difference here is that you have a smaller chance of it triggering, but it triggers off of more cards. So a blue creep will trigger this effect, and a blue improvement will trigger this effect, making it much more universally applicable. His premier card is a 4 mana spell, Astral Something. In the last video, I got blasted in the comments for not completely memorizing every single Dota ability, because I was like, what is this ability's name? And very clearly it was pulled straight from Dota. So in this case, I looked it up, and apparently this hero in Dota has a spell called Astral Imprisonment, which sort of removes a character from the game for a second. So my guess is that this card has some sort of similar effect. Stunning unit, something, that unit, something. So my guess is that it's gonna blink a unit out of existence, like you cast it on it and they're just like removed from the game for this lane, and then maybe they come back afterwards or something like that, so you can't do anything to them and they can't do anything to you. I don't know. Maybe it's like stun a unit for this turn and they have damage immunity for this turn. Like maybe that could be the effect as well. I'm not really sure. Either way, it probably has some sort of lockdown overall mechanic or feel. Because in Dota, when you play this on someone, they're removed from the game, but they're also immune to harm. You can't really like attack them or cast spells on them. So I'm expecting a similar effect here. Maybe they're stunned, but they have a death shield possibly. Next up is everyone's favorite Sneck, Venomancer. He is a 2/6 blue card. I think those are some real bad stats. The only card that he's better than is, I think, Crystal Maiden at 2/5. So his body is just insanely weak. His passive is Venomous Nature. Summon a Plague Ward into Venomancer's lane each deployment phase. Unfortunately, we don't know what Plague Wards are. More than likely some sort of creep. That would make sense because in the game Dota 2, Venomancer can put down these Plague Wards that are just like little sneaky things that spit at you, and they're basically just units that you can attack. So it stands to reason that these Plague Wards are some sort of weak creature, like maybe a 2/2 or a 1/3 or something in that nature, something not too powerful. The problem with this effect is that it will probably be a way for your opponent to farm gold. If you put, let's say, well, you know, we don't know what the Plague Ward is, but let's assume it's a 1/1. If you're putting down tons and tons of 1/1s, then each and every one of those 1/1s is going to give your opponent 1 gold when it dies, giving Venomancer potentially a pretty significant drawback. So I hope that the Plague Wards are strong enough, that they're big enough to counteract that. Who knows, maybe they'll even be as big as melee creeps, which could be pretty significant. His premier card is a 4-mana spell that's my guess is So Venom or So Venom Wards or something like that. And it says summon T, looks like a W. So my guess is that his card summons 2 Plague Wards. The most direct comparison we have is Dimensional Portal, which is also a 4-cost blue card that summons 3 melee creeps. So I think it's probably safe to assume that Plague Wards are a little bit stronger or perhaps just more useful than melee creep. Otherwise, I don't know why you would want this over Dimensional Portal, because it seems like weaker in every way. If the Plague Wards are 2/2, then just why put Venomancer in your deck when you can put Dimensional Portal and either Cana or Prelate, which I will go over in a second, in your deck instead. Next up is Cana. She is a blue hero with 2 attack and 12 health, making her by far the toughest blue hero in the game. Her passive is pretty unique, Bringer of Conquest. The random allied melee creeps are deployed into Cana's lane. Now that helps Cana be sort of like a rush aggressive blue hero, because you put her in a lane and then all your melee creep are going to swarm into that lane, and you can sort of push down the enemy tower by, you know, going very wide. Problem with this effect is that the opponent is going to have this information as well. So if they see Cana go down in the lane, they're going to be like, okay, well that's where all the melee creep are. I know I won't be randomly blocked by creep in other lanes. Also, I may as well start putting my conflagrations in that lane and saving my AoE effects for that lane as well. So it's kind of like tipping your hand a little bit, just because the opponent knows how the passive is going to play out. So it has a potential downside. I will say though that this card synergizes quite well with her premier card. Prey of the Week summons a Hound of War for each damaged unit. Unfortunately, we don't know what Hounds of War's stat lines are. If I had to guess, I'll bet they're the inverse of melee creep. So I bet that they're 4/2s. I feel like that kind of makes sense because it's sort of like a perversion of the creep thing, and it's got a Dire vibe because Dire is more aggressive and Radiant is more, you know, defensive. So that's just a guess, but I think that's probably what it is. Anyways, having all of your melee creeps deployed to Cana's lane makes it much easier for Cana to trigger Hounds of War off of the damaged units. Furthermore, one interesting thing to point out is that Cana's 2 attack might actually be a boon, because with her low attack she won't one-shot melee creeps. In fact, she won't one-shot much of anything. Next up is Prelate. She is significantly weaker than Cana with just a 3/5 body, but in my opinion a stronger passive. Bringer of the Faithful. Summon a melee creep in a Prelate's lane each deployment phase. So that's a free 2/4 every turn. In some ways you might want to think of it as her having a body closer to 5/9, because that's adding the 2/4 on top of her base stats. Doesn't quite work that way, but you will get a lot of value out of it. Her premier card we've seen before. It is a 5-mana blue improvement that continuously summons melee creep. Personally, I like Prelates a little bit more than Cana. They have similar effects, which is rallying creep in a lane. but Prelate has a bit slower and more control-based approach, whereas Cana is more aggressive and reckless. I like slower and more control-based decks, so I think Prelate will fit right up my alley, and hopefully she'll be fun to play. Next up is Beastmaster, a red hero with a respectable 5 attack and 12 body. Unfortunately, we don't know what his passive does, but we do have his premier card, Primal Roar. I think this is the most expensive red premier card that we've seen so far. The only comparably expensive red cards we've seen are Spring the Trap at 7 mana and Time of Triumph at 8 mana. Primal Roar stuns a unit blocking an ally red hero this round. Move that unit's allied neighbors to random other lanes. This is quite a powerful effect. Not only will it almost ensure that the red hero wins the ensuing combat against the stunned unit, but also it will free up empty lane slots for the allies adjacent to the red hero to potentially hit the tower. Furthermore, disrupting your opponent by forcing your enemy heroes into other lanes can really muck up your enemy's game plan, especially if you teleport enemy heroes to a lane where you don't have a presence, meaning they're basically stuck there unless they can force that hero to die or they have some sort of teleport effect like Blink Dagger. So if you can manage to teleport a Bristleback and Axe over into a lane where you just have one melee creep, then those heroes are going to be stuck there until the end of time. In addition to disrupting your opponent, you can also prevent them from casting any spells. Obviously, if you teleport away enemy heroes, then if there's no heroes left, then they can't cast any card. Next up is Howling Mind. This is a 3-cost blue improvement that reads, you and your opponent draw an extra card each round. Now, this might sound a little bit familiar to some of you card players out there. This is a direct head nod to Magic the Gathering, which has Howling Mind for a similar effect. So I think this is Valve's way of just sort of being like, Richard Garfield, we gotcha. Thanks for designing Magic the Gathering. Thanks for designing our game. We're going to give you the respect you deserve by giving a nice little homage to one of the best card games in the world, Magic the Gathering, in our new and improved, soon to be the new best card game in the world, Artifact. So this effect is pretty interesting. It's cheap and reliable card draw. Of course, you give those cards to your opponent. Is this useful? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, because it's got a built-in significant drawback, so we'll have to get into the game and see how it performs. Though I will say I am really digging this artwork. It feels like a Magic the Gathering 2 card, right? It looks like a blue sorcery or a blue instant spell, something like that. So I'm just really digging the artwork on this, and I'm looking forward to trying it out for sure. Oh, we're getting into the terrible pixelated blurry cards. I apologize. This one is, there's 3 more, and this one's the only actually readable one. The other one you're gonna have to like squint at your computer screen. It's a black improvement that costs 3 mana, Assured Destruction. All heroes have +4 siege. This seems to be the black version of the red card, the Grand Melee, which gives all heroes cleave if there's a red hero in the lane. Kind of interesting that this doesn't require a black hero in the lane. I'm not really sure why they made that distinction that red has to have a red hero in the lane, but black doesn't have to have a black hero in the lane. But nonetheless, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of these cards that help your enemy just as much as they help yourself, because obviously you can kill yourself. Though that gives me an idea for a funny deck where all you do is play cards that help your opponent, like Howling Mind and Assured Destruction and the Grand Melee. Actually, now that I think about it, each color now has a 3-cost improvement that benefits both people. The Grand Melee in red, Assured Destruction in black, and Howling Mind in blue. But I don't think we've seen one in green. Green has Mist of Avernus for 3, but that only helps you. And they also have Unearthed Secrets, which also only helps you. So I'm thinking we might see another green improvement here sometime soon that maybe gives all units regeneration, maybe it gives all units block. It's hard to say. Next up, we have Assassin's Hood. I have remade this card without the art because obviously I don't have the art, but you can read the text here, or at least what I think is the text. Equipped hero has +4 health. On a 2-turn active cooldown, choose a combat target for equipped hero, and the item costs 6 gold. So basically you put this on a hero, and every 2 turns you get to readjust that arrows to make sure that you get the attacks where you want those attacks to land. The name, I think, is sort of an allusion to it being a black compatible card because black really likes smacking into other heroes. So my guess is that this is going to be a bit more popular in black and red decks, a little bit less popular in blue and green decks. I can definitely see it on someone like Bristleback because obviously being able to control if he is targeting a hero will help him stack up that awesome +2 armor. Next up, we have the old techie vest, or perhaps more accurately, the suicide vest for 8 gold. The equipped hero has +2 armor. It has a active ability. Deal 6 damage to equipped heroes, enemy neighbors, and condemn equipped hero. Now, this probably seems like a really terrible effect, but I think it's actually a little bit stronger than you might think. So first off, this is a lot of damage. We're talking 18 potential damage, 6, 6, and 6. And for an 8 gold cost item, that's actually pretty impressive. Plus, killing your heroes isn't quite as bad as you might think. Obviously, killing heroes will allow you to move them to another lane for deployment later. And furthermore, on a lot of heroes, they're just going to sort of die off the bat anyways. I could see putting this on blue heroes especially. If you've got some heavy hitting spell, for example, Thunder God's Wrath, that you want to be able to play at 7 mana, then maybe you could put the old Techie's Vest on Zeus on turn 5 so that you can take him out intentionally on turn 5. He'll be on cooldown on turn 6, and then on turn 7, he comes right back into the field just in time to cast Thunder God's Wrath. And I can see it being used as sort of like an emergency evacuation card if you've got a hero stuck in a dead lane. So it's definitely got potential. Don't underestimate this card right off the bat because the downside can actually be an upside. And the last card is the 5 mana creep Ogre Corpse Tosser. He has a 2/10 body and the ability deal 2 piercing damage to the enemy tower after an allied melee creep dies. So this has excellent synergy with Prelate because Prelate creates 1 melee creep every turn with her passive and creates additional melee creeps every turn with her premier cards. So theoretically, if you can put that improvement and Prelate in the same lane as Ogre Corpse Tosser, then this guy's just going to be chucking bodies at the enemy tower one after the other. I love the concept. I love the flavor. I cannot wait to try out an Ogre Corpse Tosser plus Prelate deck. Sounds super fun. All right, so those are all of the new cards. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Which one is your favorite? Also, if you think that I misinterpreted any of those ultra blurry cards, please correct me in the comments. But anyways, let me know in the comments what you thought of these new cards. And thank you so much for watching. Dabacab out.